So, welcome everyone. Let us start. So, we last stopped on page 359, and this was the part which was done already, and today we have to start from. It is then in the way of spiritual philosophies from here. So, I think it would be nice if we can maybe just for clarity's sake, we just read through what we have read last. This paragraph we'll read through, and then we will take up the new paragraph. Yeah, would anyone want to read this out aloud?
Yes, may I?
Yes, please. Yeah.
There is indeed a truth behind the pragmatic impulse, which an exclusive one sided spirituality is apt to ignore or deny or belittle. It is this that since the individual and the universal are terms of that higher and vaster being, their fulfillment must have some real place in the supreme existence. There must be behind them some high purpose in the supreme wisdom and knowledge, some eternal strain in the supreme delight. They cannot have been, they were not created in vain. But the perfection and satisfaction of humanity, like the perfection and satisfaction of the individual, can only be securely compassed and founded upon a more eternal yet unseized truth and right of things. Minor terms of some greater existence, they can fulfill themselves only when that of which they are the terms is known and possessed. The greatest service to humanity, the surest foundation for its true progress, happiness, and perfection is to prepare or find the way by which the individual and the collective man can transcend the ego and live in its true self, no longer bound to ignorance, incapacity, disharmony, and sorrow. It is by the pursuit of the eternal and not by living bound in the slow collective evolution of nature that we can best assure even that evolutionary, collective, altruistic aim our modern thought and idealism have set before us. But it is in itself a secondary aim to find, know, and possess the divine existence, consciousness, and nature, and to live in it for the divine is our true aim and the one perfection to which we must aspire.
Yeah, thank you. So, this is where we had stopped last. So, I think again reading it out aloud serves as a good reminder because we keep forgetting. So many things are important all the time.
Yes.
So, it is good to remind of this aim, the first aim, the primary aim to find, know, and possess the divine existence, consciousness, and nature, and to live in it for the divine is our true aim and the one perfection to which we must aspire. So, this, thank you for reading it out. Yes, so we can take a bit of some new stuff here. So maybe if you want to read, you can just continue and take maybe. Okay, I'll ask you to maybe take a pause somewhere. I don't know where, but we'll know. So if you want to go ahead, please go ahead.
Okay. It is then in the way of it is then in the way of the spiritual philosophies and religions, not in that of any earthbound materialistic doctrine, that the seeker of the highest knowledge has to walk, even if with enriched aims and a more comprehensive spiritual purpose. But how far has he to proceed in the elimination of the ego? In the ancient way of knowledge, we arrive at the elimination of the ego sense, which attaches itself to the body, to the life, to the mind, and says of all or any of them, "This is I." Not only do we, as in the way of works, get rid of the I of the worker and see the Lord alone as the true source of all works and sanction of works and his executive nature power, or else his supreme Shakti as the sole agent and worker. But we get rid also of the ego sense, which mistakes the instruments or the expressions of our being for our true self and spirit. But even if all this has been done, something remains still. There remains a substratum of all these, a general sense of the separate I. This substratum, ego, is something vague, indefinable, elusive. It does not or need not attach itself to anything in particular as the self. It does not identify itself with anything collective. It is a sort of fundamental form or power of the mind which compels the mental being to feel himself as a perhaps indefinable but still a limited being, which is not mind, life, or body, but under which their activities proceed in nature.
Yeah, thank you. So although it still goes on, but I think we take a pause here.
Mm.
Yeah. So any reflections are welcome. Yeah, so if not anything, maybe we can continue because then this is very important. I believe that it's very hard to get rid, no matter how many realizations one may have, it's very hard to get rid of this substratum that, okay, this is happening to me. These realizations, experiences, whatever is happening to me, this separate self. So that's what he's sharing, that even if this all has been done, so you step back from the thoughts as identifying as yourself as thoughts, identifying yourself as the feelings, all that you are stepping back from. One may have a couple of realizations, and yet he says, but even if all this has been done, something remains still. What is that? There remains a substratum of all these, a general sense of the separate I. All of us, if we look at ourselves inwardly, we'll see that it's very hard to ignore this separate sense of self, that this is me. This substratum ego is something vague, indefinable, elusive. It does not or need not attach itself to anything in particular as the self. So now one has stepped back, one is not taking thoughts as oneself, ideas, opinions as oneself, feelings as oneself. There may be an understanding of not even taking the body as oneself. And yet one feels that no, I am this limited individual. So he says that it may not attach to anything as myself, and yet we know that it is there. It's not that we are rid of it. It does not identify with anything collective. It is sort of a fundamental form or power of the mind which compels the mental being to feel himself as a perhaps indefinable. We may say that I am beyond my thoughts, beyond my feelings, everything, I am beyond my body. And yet there is a sense of limitedness that no, I am this limited fellow. So, but still a limited being which is not mind, life, or body, but under which their activities proceed in nature. So, yes, I am beyond life, thoughts, feelings, body sensations, everything, my opinions, dogmas. I am something beyond, but I am something. So, that stays, that is not going anywhere. So, but still a limited being which is not mind, life, or body, but under which their activities proceed in nature. So I think it would be nice if we maybe go ahead further and see what it's coming. Yeah. So if anyone else want to uh, read the other half, you can just go ahead.
Shall I read?
Yes, yes, why not? Yeah.
The others were a qualified ego idea and ego sense supporting themselves on the play of the Prakriti. But this is pure fundamental ego power supporting itself on the consciousness of the mental Purusha. And because it seems to be above or behind the play and not in it, because it does not say, I am the mind, life, or body, but I am a being on whom the action of mind, life, and body depends. Many think themselves release and mistake this elusive ego for the one, the divine, the true Purusha, or at very least for the true person within them, mistaking the indefinable for the infinite. But so long as this fundamental ego sense remains, there is no absolute release. The egoistic life, even if diminished in force and intensity, can still continue well enough with the support. If there is the error in identification, the ego life may, under that pretext, get rather an exaggerated intensity and force. Even there is no such error, the ego life may be wider, purer, and more flexible, and release may now be much easier to attain and nearer to accomplishment. And still, there is yet no definitive release. It is imperative to go farther, to get rid of this indefinable but fundamental ego self also, and get back to the Purusha on whom it is supporting itself, of whom it is a shadow. The shadow has to disappear, and by its disappearance, reveal the spirit's unclouded substance.
So I think this is again very important, especially I've, many a times it happens, especially to those of us who are consciously on a spiritual path, any kind of spiritual path, that there comes a feeling that, oh, I have become egoless. That's the dangerous thing. Because who has become egoless? I. There is still an I. So it's very, very dangerous, and people really like one again, as so many dangers on the path, and mother warns us of spiritual ego also. So we again get stuck to a place where we think that okay, this is it, I have arrived, I have reached. So very, very dangerous this thing, and it's good to read these words so that we can be aware of the danger. So the others, where one is identifying with either a thought, feeling, sensation, body, this is my life, my story. This was a qualified ego idea. So now I am stepping back from all those qualifications. My storyline, I am beyond, my thoughts, I am beyond it, my feelings, I am beyond it. So one is getting away from those qualifications, degrees, or whatever the labels. The others were a qualified ego idea and ego sense supporting themselves on the play of the Prakriti. So all that moves, thoughts, opinions, ideas, storylines. I was identified earlier with that Prakriti. Now one is stepping back. But this is the pure, what he's talking about here is to be wary of, but this is the pure fundamental ego power supporting itself on the consciousness of the mental Purusha. And because it seems to be above or behind the place, so you see, whenever we become mindful of things in our life, okay, I'm mindful of this thought, I'm mindful of this feeling, there is still uh, a mindfulness, right? I am mindful of something. So that support is there, that there is like a backing, and we are now identified with that backing, not even knowingly. We think that, okay, this is, since I can't define this backing, it must be nothing. So he says that here, there was a word indefinable, mistaking the indefinable for the infinite. So I am actually standing maybe at the verge or on the ground of that indefinable, but yet that is not yet the infinite. But I may mistake it. I may feel that, okay, mera ho gaya, I'm fixed, the ego is gone. So he says, again, let us take these. But just a second. Yeah. But this is the pure fundamental ego power supporting itself on the consciousness of the mental Purusha. What is the mental Purusha? The one which is aware of all the movements, the one seated immobile. But that is not it. There is something beyond that also. So that may seem very immobile, I can't define it, or talk about it, and yet it is not the divine or the infinite. So, and because it seems to be above or behind the play. Now, when I'm watching my thoughts, when I'm watching as a witness my movements, sensations, body, feelings, everything, storylines, then I am seated as that immutable watcher. That's what we can refer to as mental Purusha. And because that seems to be above or behind the play, that seated presence seems to be not involved in the play, not in it, because it does not say I am the mind, life, or body, right? So I'm not saying that witnessing awareness is not saying, no, I am the thought, I am the feeling. It is stepped back from that. But I am a being on whom the action of mind, life, and body depends. So it's like the screen. On the screen, all the things appear and we watch the play. But I am a screen. There is a beingness. But I am a being on whom the action of mind, life, and body depends. Many think themselves released. So one feels, okay, this is where I could go and I have reached, I have arrived. Mera ho gaya, I'm done. And mistake this elusive ego for the one, the divine, the true Purusha, or at the very least for the true person, that as if I have arrived at the true person in me. Within them, mistaking the indefinable for the infinite. So I think this is a beautiful reminder for all of us, so that we can be wary of this stumbling or sticking on the way. And then he says, but so long as the fundamental ego sense remains that I am something, there is no absolute release. The egoistic life, even if diminished in force and intensity, can still continue well enough with this support. If there is the error in identification, the ego life may, under that pretext, get rather exaggerated. This happens many a times. We see, many so-called gurus, and they, like, again, rigidity happens on the way, and a very exaggerated, aggrandized ego, and all kind of untowardly things happen then. Even if there is no such error, so if the error is not there, the ego life may be wider, purer, more flexible. So still not rid of the ego, but at least it is supple. You are not identifying that, okay, this is where I have to come and I have arrived. One is not believing in that. And yet the ego life may be wider, purer, more flexible, and the release may be now much easier to attain and nearer to accomplishment, but still there is as yet no definitive release. It is imperative to go further to get rid of this indefinable but fundamental ego sense. So uske bhi aur aage jana hai. This is the beauty we see with Sri Aurobindo, one thing after another, one cannot stop. So to get rid of this indefinable but fundamental ego sense also, and get back to the Purusha on whom it is supporting itself. So to the impersonality. And a practical realization of impersonality, not just, in my theory, in my intellect, thinking about impersonality. So that is our possibility, that we go back to the Supreme Purusha on whom it is supporting itself, of whom it is a shadow. So mental Purusha is a shadow of the ultimate. So we can't stop there. The shadow has to disappear, and by its disappearance, reveal the spirit's unclouded substance. Yeah, so yeah, any reflections? Anyone?
When you were reading, and especially this line about mistaking indefinable for the infinite, I was just remembered of a lecture I heard from Ramdas, and very good example he shared. Not exactly of this, but I think my mind kind of related it what we read. And he said that he went to Vipassana meditation with Rinpoche, Rockpal Rinpoche, a very famous Buddhist monk. And he said that when we went there, they were teaching us techniques and, focus on the breathing and focus on the Buddha. And whenever I sit down and I started doing it, I was not able to concentrate at all, because I was in my heart and mind only, Ram and Sita Ram was constantly playing. And before coming to this meditation, I thought that, this is it. I have achieved that state of, complete bliss and, a detachment from the ego self and ego consciousness and the soul consciousness, where I can just be in that chanting of Sitaram and Sitaram. But when I went to this, when I came to this meditation, I was so much disturbed, because when they asked me to concentrate on the breathing and the Buddha, I couldn't really concentrate, because in me it was constantly playing that. And that became my center of renunciation. And like I became so fixed with it, hooked with it. And I remember I went to my room, and I had Maharaji's picture with me, which I carried everywhere. I just kept it inside. I said, I'm not going to look at you. I'm not going to, because, this shows my rigidity. Again, he realized it. For example, like thought that it's like indefinable. He realized it, that this is not infinite, because he again got disillusioned with that thing only. And he said that, for weeks and months, I did not look at Maharaji's picture. And I did the Vipassana, which was very difficult, because I would retrain myself and go beyond my idea of egolessness. And he said what came out of that was that I formed a very different relationship with my guru. So after that, I was not just a subservient. He was just not a subservient. Like, I was not just subservient to him as, a servant and looking up there, but I could actually bring him as a friend there. So it was a transition, in Bhakti Yoga, where I moved forward. So that was really interesting, that, like even Shurbind was saying, of course, very different, but I somehow felt that how you cannot stop, you cannot think, oh, for 20 years I've been in ashram and I've done everything. No, I've done, achieved. We think even after 10 days, I feel, oh, very good, I'm sincere in meditation, I'm achieving. But that's really the beauty of Shirvind and the mother, that you cannot stop, because there's so much, it's not ending. Like, even sometimes I think, even mothers saying that I'm aspiring, I'm thinking, my God, where we have to go? Even the divine saying that I'm still aspiring for the perfection. So yeah.
Yeah. Anything more? Anyone? So again, errors of reading too much, pros and cons of reading too much. At times, it feels that one has realized when one is reading about the realizations. So I think there has to be a balance of reading and practically in the body. You have to connect with, for example, uh, all of us do, from time to time, but to make it more concrete for us, what do we mean by the inner being? What do we mean by the psychic being? So slowly, I think naturally also it happens, but also to have uh, like a balance of both reading, understanding, reflecting. And of course, it may happen, and it does happen gradually by itself also. But many a times, we just too much reading can make us feel that we have arrived while we have not. So yeah. So some practical tools, which many of them are already given with Mother Sri Aurobindo. Many practical methods, tools, little hints, pointers are given already. Although there is no like technique which everyone has to follow, but uh, one can pick and choose according to our present taste, whatever is resonating more strongly, to have that experience or realization, to stabilize it, to concretize it, rather than what we usually concretize, our thoughts, feelings, and everything. Yeah. So before we go ahead, I think it is very important that we realize the significance of first stabilizing ourselves in the stance of witness. So if I talk about that, okay, witnessing consciousness is something else, and then there is some other infinite consciousness, divine consciousness, but I can't jump at the infinite consciousness directly. These are baby steps that we have to take. So that's why Mother Sri Aurobindo, we again and again hear stepping back and witnessing. Here in release from subjection to heart and mind, release from subjection to the body, release from subjection to the ego. Everywhere we read it again and again, that this stepping back and stabilizing my stance first as that awareness which sees everything, consciousness which sees, which is the watcher, which is the witness. First, that stabilization is very necessary. And then, when that stabilization happens to a greater or lower degree, then we feel a presence of a calm and quietness in the being, because I am now not entertaining all the bombardment of sense stimuli and interpretations throughout 24 hours of the day. Nobody is entertaining that. So there is more space in the being, there is more peace, stillness is more. And now slowly, as the being ripens, with like an empty container, empty solid container, then we begin to be, one can say, in Hindi there is a word patrata, that you become, and patra is container, and patrata, that you become now the ripe container in which the higher knowledge, higher force, light, everything can descend. Because without that descent, the transformation of our lower is not going to happen. We can continue dealing with I will deal with my mind, I will transform my emotions, I will transform my body. We can continue this for lifetimes and nothing is going to happen, because only the descent can change the lower consciousness. What we are trying to do here, and what we were reading, is we are stepping back from the lower consciousness, saying that I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. So first I am de-entangling myself from the lower consciousness, which so far I thought, okay, this is me. And now when I'm disentangled from it, then I am an empty receptacle. Then I look up, because I don't have the power to change this lower instrument. No one has. So you become empty of that lower instrument and you look up. And when you are looking up and seeking for help, for guidance, for aspiration, then the descent happens, and then the descent changes the lower also. So all these are steps which we need to stabilize and concretize. First stepping back, then stabilization of that stillness, peace, and quietude in perseverance. No aggression is there. There is no aggression that, oh my God, when will it happen? When will my lower instrument get changed? That kind of thing is not there. It can't be there. If a true disentanglement has happened to a relative degree, it cannot be that there is restlessness in the being, that, oh, when will I get changed? No, because there is joy, even in this stepping back and waiting. There is joy. So this question does not occur to you that when will the true change happen.
I feel, you've said it quite many times, even mother says it, that, there is no restlessness in this yoga, shouldn't be. But with myself, I feel that whenever I'm at ease and joy, like when everything is going smoothly in life in general, the attention diverts so quickly. There is no that perseverance, of really having that kind of, remember we were talking about that, having the disgust. Till the time the disgust will not come, that I do not want life to be like this, I do not, the world doesn't really satisfy, it's not, it shouldn't be like this, and I'm not satisfied with it. So I mean, whenever I'm at ease and enjoy, somehow that disgust is not there, and there is no need for things to be different, and hence, and like, an aspiration. But whenever there is suffering, or whenever there is problem, or whenever there is something that I'm not able to take, I think, and of course each one is very different, but I'm talking about myself, that I think that is the time when I genuinely, that there is this disgust really, that, this is not how I would like to live another years of my life, or would not like the world to be like this. So I don't know how to really balance this, having joy, like I even asked it before.
I think you already said it, like there is nothing to be added here. What you were sharing, it tells us the purpose of pain in life. Because when relaxed, we actually, all of us, it's not only you, all of us get too easy and self-satisfied, and we don't aspire, we stop to aspire. It happens. So I think that's why mother says that even for the best, the process is long and slow and includes countless experiences. Because first I'm like a pendulum, in pain I seek intensely and go through a lot of progress, then I again relaxed, everything is hunky dory, then again a blow comes, and again seeking. So for a long time I am like a pendulum, that when I'm good, I'm not seeking, aspiring, doing my practice enough, because I'm just too relaxed, right? For a long time this pendulum like movement happens. It's a collective phenomena, it happens with each one of us, and then for each person in his own time, it may come, there comes a time that you consciously, something in us awakens and says that now when I am easy, now is my time to practice. Haven't I tortured myself enough? Haven't I tortured my relationships enough? I would not want to do that. So now when I am relatively good and not in pain, that is the time where I will practice and not waste my time. There comes a time, that the pendulum like movement, it's like a part of the practice. We somehow can't stop it. That's how it is, and completely fine, because slowly through our experiences we get convinced and convinced and convinced and convinced, and then an irrevocable transformation comes. Mother talks about it, where the U-turn cannot be made. Right now we take many U-turns, but then slowly, as the conviction grows, the growth of consciousness is happening through all the blows and everything, then there comes a point when it is irrevocable transformation. You can't change it now. You can't be the old self again, even if you have lots of empty time. No, not possible. Yeah. So anything more before we go ahead? Okay, so we'll take this in the next paragraph. Yeah, anyone would like to read?
That substance is the self of the man, called in European thought the monad, in Indian philosophy jiva or jivatman, the living entity, the self of the living creature. This jiva is not the mental ego sense constructed by the workings of nature for her temporary purpose. It is not a thing bound as the mental being, the vital, the physical are bound by her habits, laws, or processes. The jiva is a spirit and self superior to nature. It is true that it consents to her acts, reflects her moods, and upholds the triple medium of mind, life, and body, through which she casts them upon the soul's consciousness, but it is itself a living reflection or a soul form or a self-creation of the spirit, universal and transcendental, transcendental, transcendent,
Yes, yes.
mm, the one spirit who has mirrored some of his modes of being in the world and in the soul is multiple in the jiva. That spirit is the very self of our self, the one and the highest, the supreme. We have to realize the infinite existence into which we have to enter. And so far the teachers walked in the company, all agreeing that this is the supreme object of knowledge, of works, and of devotion, all agreeing that if it is to be attained, the Jeev must release himself from the ego sense which belongs to the lower nature or Maya. Should I pause here or just finish the paragraph?
Yeah, maybe you can finish. Yes.
Okay. But here they part company and each goes his own way. The monist fixes his feet on the path of the exclusive knowledge and sets for us as sole ideal an entire return, loss, immersion, or extinction of the Jeev in the Supreme. The dualist or the partial monist turns to the path of devotion and directs us to shed indeed the lower ego and material life, but to see as the highest destiny of the spirit of man, not the self-annihilation of the Buddhist, not the self-immersion of the Advaitin, not a swallowing up of the many by the one, but an eternal existence absorbed in the thought, love, and enjoyment of the Supreme, the One, the All Lover.
So it's again good to read this because we can now make distinctions, So, for example, we may get confused since for most of us it is theory. When I'm talking of psychic being, when Sri Aurobindo is talking of Jivatman or the central being, for me it is theory because it is not where I live consciously. Outer being is my uh, what I can say practically, I can feel and touch and sense, and that's where I get to know, oh, this is my outer being, this is my outer personality. But these inner things are, for most of us in the beginning, it is theory. So I think even in theory, it is good to at times get in touch with these words, so that it helps when the concretization step has to happen within the being, when I have to consciously realize what is the psychic being, what is the central being, then somehow it may help. At times, people may actually have realized, but the name may not be there, the exact name may not be there. So it doesn't matter about the name, but still, I think it's good to read this. So, if you remember, we were doing this meditation the other day, where we were trying to connect above the head, and as if there is a substance, and that substance, although is infinite, like it extends in the infinite space, and yet there is a pool of that substance just right next to me. So I personally relate with that when Pure Aurobindo talks about Jivatman, which he says is the central being. In other words, also at other locations, he uses the central being. It is not part of evolution. Psychic being is the part of evolution. It is assimilating experiences. And through those experiences, it is ripening. Right? So, psychic being ripens and assimilates and absorbs the crux and essences of all experiences. So, it is part of evolution. It has stepped down in the mortal existence. But the Jivatman, as they say, is above the present existence. It is above it. It is like a supervisor. It is there, but it is not involved in the evolution. So when we read this Jiva or Jivatman is not the mental ego sense constructed by the workings of nature for her temporary purpose. It is not a thing bound, as the mental being, the vital, and the physical are bound by her habits, by nature's habits, laws, and processes. The Jiva is a spirit, a self superior to nature. It is true that it consents to her acts, reflects her moods, and upholds the triple medium of mind, life, and body through which she, nature, casts them upon the soul's consciousness. But it is itself a living reflection or a soul form or a self creation of the spirit, universal and transcendent. So, we'll read something about it from another book, and also we'll maybe try to, again through a meditation, we'll try to connect with this, because this is all available to us throughout. It is just that when we have, our focus is all the time outward thoughts, feelings, sensations, so we are not unaware of these planes of our being. So I'm just reading a few lines on Jivatman by Mother and Sri Aurobindo, mostly by Sri Aurobindo here. So he says, the self, Atman, in its nature, is in its nature either transcendent or universal, Param Atma or Atma, both. When it individualizes and becomes a central being, it is then the Jivatman, the individual being, the central being. So there is a peculiar quality to it. It's not, yes, it is transcendental, but here we have a connection with our personal pool of that transcendent. So like there is a space. If we look at space is extending throughout the universe. There is no division in space. And yet the space which is around my body is a special personal connection with that space. So that's my personal pool, if I can say, to that space which actually extends infinitely. So when it individualizes and becomes a central being, it is then the Jivatman. The Jivatman feels his oneness with the universal. But at the same time, his central separateness as a portion of the divine. So there is both. There is a connection with the universal, there is a knowing that one is, that infinite, and yet there is a personal aura to it, one can say. That, okay, this is my personal space. The phrase central being in our yoga, which Sri Aurobindo uses parallelly with Jivatman, the phrase central being in our yoga is usually applied to the portion of divine in us which supports all the rest and survives through death and birth. So why are we reading now at this juncture of Jivatman? Because earlier the paragraph that we read, he was talking that we reach a point that it seems that, okay, I have arrived, and yet I have not arrived. So you have to go further. When we go further, where do we come? The central being. No? This central being survives through death and birth. This central being has two forms. Above it is Jivatman, our true being. So now there comes the distinction of the psychic being and the, this central being has two forms. One, it is above Jivatman, our true being, of which we become aware when the higher self-knowledge comes. Below it is the psychic being. So involved in the body, involved in the evolution, that's the psychic being. Our personal connection to the divine, which stands behind mind, body, and life. So when we begin to step back through our mindfulness or stepping back practices, when we begin to step back from the thought movements, the feeling movements, and sense perception, step back, step back, step back, gradually we will all have to enter psychic being, that which stands behind mind, life, and body. And then slowly we also get in touch with the one that stands above mind, life, and body. The Jivatman is above the manifestation in life and presides over it. The psychic being stands behind the manifestation and supports it. And then again, there are more descriptions on Jivatman. But I think for now, this purpose, this is a good enough clarification for us that how do we get in touch then? First, if we want to get in touch with the psychic being, we step back. Many practices can be there. And you become aware of something which is always watching. Something in us which is always watching, the watcher of the watcher of the watcher of the watcher of the watcher. You can go further. And then we can, in our silences, we get in touch with that presence. And how to get in touch with the Jivatman or the central being, how to feel that force, the experiment that we did the other day, to connect above. Above, just right above, few inches above, the head, we connect with the space, place our attention there, and we become aware of something tangible there, which we can sense. And slowly, if our calling is there, then we can stabilize ourselves there. Again, it would depend on the call. Not everybody may have the calling right now at this juncture. Yes, Dr. Anjali?
Yeah, I just was hearing all these things and always feel that it has started. It has not started. And you said that this state of mind is with everybody. So I have just an idea that what you are talking about and reading, can we also practice here in this session for a few minutes, for 2 minutes or 5, like just now, you were talking about that concentrating above the head. Can we do that practice?
Yes,
Each
we
of
can
these
do
sessions,
that. We can
so
do
that it
that.
will clarify more.
Yes, we will do that. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of confusion, which is very natural. That
It
what
is
to do.
natural. Yes.
Because when you read that mother said that meditation sitting is not essential, but I feel that reading.
No, I think we have to see that mother has not said that meditation is not. She has also given techniques to us. There is a compilation where on meditation and concentration we have compilations. So I think we don't have to pick and choose that, oh, mother said that meditation is not necessary. Mother said that one has to be meditated throughout the day. Are we
Right.
there? But if we are not there, then those empty pockets where we can concentrate and meditate. Mother has talked about dynamic meditation and concentration at various centers. We come across these things again and again with Mother Sri Aurobindo. So we can't say that they have disregarded the importance. They have. If you read Letters on Yoga, especially part 3, you would see how
It is our
important.
ignorance. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it is our ignorance. Where to start?
where to
Where to
start.
start?
Yeah,
Because all life is yoga, or for the whole day you want to be in that presence only.
yes.
In the morning we pray that I want to remember you. You be there, but we forget. So when you are amidst all these crises, as you said, that when we are in right state of mind, then that aspiration has to begin. Because when we are in pain, when we are suffering, then we are always there connected, and we get the grace and result also. But rightly you said that when it is the right time, so what to do?
Nothing. I mean, see, the moment you said that, okay, I want to do, that is the start.
Hmm.
That something in my being is now ready to practically have something of what we are reading all the time.
Hmm.
I think that is a good enough beginning. So, if you are asking when is the right time, this is the right time. Exactly
Because
this.
that thing is there when inside you are saying, Mother, I want there, I
Hmm,
don't want to be here
hmm,
anymore.
hmm.
But I have to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, in this world, in this worldly affair.
No, we will be in the worldly affairs, but like a lotus which is in the keychad, but it is
Hmm.
not threatened by it.
Hmm.
If you see on the surface of the lotus, it's very non-sticky. The keychad doesn't stick.
Yes.
It's a non-sticky surface. It's very symbolic. And
It is not
thankfully,
attached with that keychad, huh?
yeah, yeah. And it drives nutrition from that keychad,
Right.
and blossoms into such a beautiful Arvind, Shri Arvind.
Arvind. Yes.
So, and it's only, I think we can only reach such a place where now I want to concentrate and meditate. That now, through my experiences of engagement in my thoughts and feelings, I have reached such a location where my belief on my thoughts and feelings have reduced.
That's true.
Then we can maintain a concentration. See, for concentration, we need silence. Even if when we prepared for exams, whenever we prepared for exams, we have to focus on a subject. We needed silence and quiet. With a disturbed mind, I cannot concentrate, even on a subject. Right? So here, if I want to concentrate on these centers that have been given, that identify with your true being. How can I identify? I identify when I place my concentration there.
There. Right.
First, I begin with 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever comes to me, empty pockets. Then I make it throughout what we were sharing, all life is yoga. So then throughout my day, 24/7, there are enough, I can guarantee you, there are enough number of moments where we have the time to place our attention rather than engaging in the rumination of thoughts. Why would I do that? Because now I'm convinced that those thoughts and feelings are not going to get me anything. That is not what I want to do. So the attention that earlier in those empty top pockets will go into those slippery slopes, now it doesn't go there. Now you stop the moment it begins to go there, and now you place it either in deep in the heart
Absolutely true.
or above the head, wherever. And this is how we cultivate this practice. One of the ways. So let's do a little practice we can do just to touch upon these planes of our existence which we are talking of, right? Just relaxing wherever we are, better seated position, relaxing, coming back to the body, bringing the mind home in the body. Stay for a few moments with the breath. I am home. And right now, for these few minutes, no thoughts, no feelings I'm going to entertain. This is my concentration time. And as Mother says, we can say to the mind and the vital, quiet. Absolutely quiet. Now we begin to become aware of the watcher in us, the witness in us. Always watching, watching us do all the blunders, errors, mistakes. Behind everything, watching, watching. Become aware of this compassionate witnessing presence. Watching the whole body, it's watching all the movements, thoughts, feelings. Watching the watching also. And feel this witnessing presence throughout the body. Each part, each particle, atom of my body is full of this presence, witnessing presence. Each sensation in the body, any aches in the body, all are watched by it. Deep in our being, each pore, each part of the being, it is present. It is awake. My hands, my back, neck, chest, tummy. It is awake everywhere, down below, legs, thighs, genitals, everywhere. There is no part where this presence is not. When I acknowledge it, I make it alive. The compassionate witness. And the whole body, mind, feelings are just still. Nothing moves. Nothing moves. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. So, not entertaining any of my cherished guests right now. Creating a huge void in the being, huge space in the being, in which this communion can happen. And that very emptiness that usually we are afraid of, that is the emptiness that we make use of here. We become friends with. And we stabilize this vacancy within, like a vacancy where there is no active movement of thought, no active movement of feeling. We keep it stabilized, empty vacancy. Being aware of this compassionate witnessing presence behind everything. And then we go up. We bring our attention to the top of our head. And then we rise even further, a few inches above our head, hanging in the air. We place our attention there, as if it's a mirror which is facing upward that we are stabilizing. So on the top there is a mirror looking upwards. And the mirror is clean, neat, still. And I keep it stable. Just open, receptive, and stable. And we begin to become aware of the space above our head, the substance above our head. And we don't have to do anything, but just keep a contact with that substance above the head. It's my personal fountain which connects me to the infinite. Maintaining a contact above the head. And whenever I get depleted in energy or I lose my center, again I go to this touch, establish a connection, and I recharge myself here without any active movement of thought, feeling, anything. In stillness, just connecting with this fountain above my head. And this fountain, as if it comes down through this opening that one has created, comes down in the being. Enters the instrument, where there is now space, emptiness, willingness, receptivity. And then I again get in touch with the space above my head. As if again connected with that substance full of consciousness. Remaining there, being in conscious touch. And with this conscious touch, I allow it to come down, trickle down. So again, we can fluctuate, we can go back up again and get in touch with this space above the head, station ourselves there, and then through an opening, let it trickle down, the force, the peace in the body, in the instrument. And then in the meantime, we go back up again, take a fresh, as if fresh quantum from this stability above the head, and then let it trickle down. So whenever throughout the day we have we have infinite possible empty pockets of moments of time where usually we engage in rumination of thoughts and feelings, we now don't do that. We make use of these moments of time rather than thinking, feeling all the loops of feelings and thinkings. I refresh myself by stabilizing my attention above the head or deep in the heart. So this is a new employment that I give myself. And the older ones, I cancel the passports. I don't allow myself to go in the habitual rumination of thoughts and feelings, if I'm now sincere about it. And there can be an active rejection of thoughts if the ripples are there, like a jhadu. You can keep cleaning and again place attention above the head or deep in the heart, wherever in any moment one feels. So that was just for us to give ourselves a taste. We can improvise and come back to these centers again and again, rather than where we usually go, which now doesn't serve us. We stabilize our consciousness in emptiness, stillness, and receptivity of that force. And that is how we concretize. So, right now, all the stuff outside, all the relationship outside, they are more concrete for me. That's why I feel they are important. When now I know that they may be important relatively, but there is something more important I have to attend to. So, then in all those empty pockets of time, whenever I get, I make concrete this presence which is forever with me. That is where I spend my time. And that's how we begin to live in the true being. So these centers that we touched is our true being, whether it's deep in the heart or above the head. That's our inner being, true being, inmost being. But if we continue to remain on the outer level, the outer surface phenomena, and yet demand a perfection in life, that's not going to come. Because the lower phenomena will get changed only when I create this opening and let the light and peace and the power of transformation which comes from above, let it transform the instrument. So I am the one who has to work and make effort and make this opening so that the higher can descend. Yeah. Sorry, you're muted.
Yes, I was practicing this also, that on surface level, I'm doing my whatever behavior I have to do, I have to attend. But inside, I'm constantly in remembrance my consciousness is on Mother. So remembering Mother and chanting her name, repeating your mantra, your japa is one thing, but in between you also lose that thing also.
So I think we make use of all of these, the japa, the chant, constant remembrance, then placing our, see, now this is very interesting. You will see when we experiment with this, when we are placing our attention on either of these centers, we cannot actively engage in thinking and feeling.
Right,
We
absolutely
can't,
right. Yeah.
because it requires concentration, it requires effort.
Yeah.
So when I
Then
am,
others' thoughts and feelings and behaviors, they don't affect you.
yes, and again and again in every moment I'll have to make this choice that no, I have the option to go to the slippery slopes, but I'm not going to go there. This is where I go.
It feels like I'm seeing the movie. I'm watching, everything is happening, and I'm watching it, and I'm doing my bit of it. And to some extent, I'm not involved in that. But there are moments that I'm involved also. Then those thoughts and vital feelings and all these things, then you forget also. Then again, you remember. Then you place your consciousness over there to bring back over there. And whenever you find the solitude, I mean, you are not among the people, you are in your own self. Then, and it happened that I could not sleep also. I'm back to my home again. And what I contacted you and you said, and I was doing that only. And it worked because I was simply thinking that I am not doing service to anybody. I am serving to Mother. I am serving to Mother. And that worked for both of us. But still that kind of thing was there, yearning. I was just like, my God, I want to go out of this cage of this pigeon.
Exactly. So when this yearning arises, that this constant rumination in thoughts and feelings feels like a prison, that is the best moment to now get away from the prison. By again and again choosing to place and to know ourselves as the consciousness above and not the one which is entangled in the body, in the mind, in the thoughts. So it's a very good moment actually to concentrate, because then we are convinced that no, I don't want to go there. It's suffocating. It's a prison. So it's a good, we can make use of this opportune moment. Yes.
But today's tip is also very, very helpful in the sense, in between for the whole day, we can find our space and we can just for some time can go into the silence.
Absolutely. That's very much required. So all these empty pockets of time that we get, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes on the potty seat, anywhere, it could be anywhere. We place our attention not in the thoughts and feelings and loops, but on these centers which we, resonate with, which are liberating. They are liberating. Yeah.
There is
Yes.
also this meditation that I personally like, and I feel I've been extraordinarily benefited. It's twin heart meditation. And the thing that I really like, all meditations are good, but this is because it focuses on your heart chakra, which is also, Mother also speaks about, focusing in the heart chakra, and also on your crown, so above the head that we were saying. So this is, and I didn't know about it till the time I heard Dr. Basu talking about focusing above, above your head, and I'm not able to find. He also made us do a beautiful meditation if I can find it. But if you want to try, it's 15 minutes. Even if you do 2 times a week, it's so good. And usually it's so beautiful because it talks about spreading, energy, like like in being like how Monica made us connect with that cosmic consciousness, with that energy, and then spreading it out. So it's like a funnel. So you become an instrument where you're not keeping it only to yourself, but you're radiating it to the entire earth, to everybody who's in need. So I really found it really like the kind of dynamic, and I always imagine Earth as Matri Mandir, that golden, that may the Earth become like that, and like channeling, collaborating with the Mother. I always see Mother above my head, giving that light, and then like an instrument trying to radiate it. And I feel so happy. Like I have tried many meditation, but this is by far my best. So I've shared the
Yeah.
link if you
Yeah.
would like to try.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Mhm.
So anything that suits, and anything, see, for each one of us, it could be anything different at one moment of time that one may resonate with. But we will be able to sense whatever is liberating, whatever is stabilizing and stilling for us, peace giving. And we know that, okay, I'm putting effort, there is effort that is being put. I'm active, it's not that I'm sleepy. And inwardly we will have the sense which way to go, so to follow that sense along with all the reading and whatever, and to avoid going into the trap of feelings and thoughts, because being there, as I was reading few lines from Savitri, that in engaging with those cherished guests, we cannot ever commune with our soul truly. So the spirits communion happens only when the cherished guests are left outside.
Monica, on which page
Yes.
number these lines were? Really
This was
beautiful.
this was page number 47.
47.
47.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. I
Savitri.
really like them. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so maybe today we can end here, and next time we'll just pick up the threads from page number 361. We'll just go again over this paragraph that we read on Jivatman and take it further. Okay, so yeah, we can stop here then. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Very
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.